do you look at this squad? This same group of players got to two finals and won them. One final and lost them and came second in the league. Is it that big of a worry that we had injuries all last season? Thiago was very inconsistent with his injuries. Is it that big of a worry to think these same group of players can't do the same thing?
No, not really. I think the main issue is it's just another year of players who are already fairly old, aging even more, and then the same players that you can't rely on, not being able to rely on them again. So I was saying before, Ox and Keita aren't really good enough and can't be relied on. Henderson isn't the greatest performer week in, week out. He's fairly inconsistent, and that's why I think this was the season that we had to sign a player who can come straight into the 11, and putting all your eggs in one basket for Bellingham. I'm assuming Klopp or whoever it is that ends up actually doing the deal knows something that we don't, because you'd be very naive to decide Bellingham's the man without knowing that you've got your foot in the door more than the others already, because everyone's going to want him next season. And it's all good and well Bellingham saying I'll play for Liverpool now. If someone puts a contract in front of him the way it happened to Mbappe, his head could easily turn. I'm not saying that's the way he is, but Mbappe had no intention of staying at Paris Saint-Germain, and he did, because he was given a ridiculous contract. When Real Madrid and Man City, potentially PSG, whatever they're going to be doing next year, they're all capable of putting a stupid contract in front of him, and he can still win. You sign for City, you're going to win trophies, and you're going to get paid handsomely to do it as well. It's a guarantee, more or less, you're going to win trophies. So it's one of them, mate. I feel like when Thiago's injured, the drop-off's huge. If he stays fit, then I always think we can compete on all levels. He did have injuries last season, but none of them were really prolonged for a long period of time, whereas I think if you miss him for a good chunk of the season, you're taking a lot out of the squad. Same with if Van Dijk was missing or Trent, for me. I think they're three players that change how we play a lot. When one of them are missing, you notice it more than everyone else, even Salah, I'd argue.
Richie, with Thiago's injury and inconsistency Jay just mentioned, is he a player that we now need to start looking at as a luxury? Do we need to start managing how many 90 minutes he does? We've had to do it with Matip in the past, where he can't play more than 2 games in a week. Is that something we need to start looking at if we're going to get the best out of him for the longest period of time?
Yeah, he's come in as a Rolls-Royce player, isn't he? He came in and got injured, pretty early on. Then he obviously had COVID, and that was that, start-stop really until about January time when, in that first season that he had, he was one of the main reasons why Liverpool got top 4, because he was just phenomenal in that midfield. And I think it makes sense to manage his minutes, because we've seen it with Matip, and we've seen it, at times with Keita, where he wasn't injured as much as last season. I think I would love to see Carvalho play on that left side of midfield. I know that when Jones comes back, that may be his position as well. But Thiago 2 games on, 1 game off, with either a Jones or Carvalho or Keita in that role, I think would be phenomenal, because yes, Thiago is a luxury. He's never been really, even for Bayern Munich, he's always missed games here and there. So he's never been a Gini Wijnaldum, someone whose best ability is availability. And he is a luxury player because he's phenomenal. Like he's absolutely brilliant. I love him. I think he's world class, but he's world class 66% of the time because he's injured 33% of it too. So perhaps Liverpool do need to either build or develop a Carvalho or Jones type of player, or need to think about, okay, Thiago's probably got 2 years left. Let's be honest. He's probably got about 2 years left at that top level, that elite level. And then after that, someone else needs to come in, whether that is Carvalho or Jones. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think he is a luxury player. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a player. And he always has been. He's always played that role at Barcelona. He's always played that role at Bayern Munich. So for us to think, well, actually, he's getting older, he's going to get fitter and less injury prone, it's a little bit naive, I think, for us to think that. So, it's probably not a bad shout, Tino, that he does have a Matip, role. We have got players like Jones and Carvalho who can come in and do the damage. So, let's hope that, you know, that's what we can do when Thiago does come back, because I think it's also unfair that we have to rely on him for 90 minutes every single game too. That's a lot of pressure. Not just pressure, it's a lot of running. Like, that Liverpool midfield is all legs. You know, it's all legs. You look at that Liverpool midfield, they're not asked to score goals. They might be asked to assist, but they're the engine. And, you know, Thiago's never been that sort of mold of a player. He's always been that player to break the lines. He's always been that player to try to break up play, no matter how many silly yellow cards he gets. But yeah, he is. He's a luxury player and he's a Rolls Royce of a player. And I think his minutes should be managed sensibly.
Yes, yeah, he's one of those players, and I think everybody when he came in, we all knew how good of a player he was. And then he gets injured, and then he comes in and actually made a huge difference to the style and manner in which we play as well. With his injuries, Kev, is it time we throw, as Richie mentioned, Curtis, Carvalho, Harvey Elliott, is it time we throw them into the deep end and say, this guy's probably going to get injured a lot. This is your time when he's not there to take your Liverpool career by the scruff of the neck and demand a starting place.
It goes back to what Rich said about Klopp being stubborn, and the fact that he's not going to go out and buy someone in the transfer window for need's sake. He will feel that this is the time, and to see how good Curtis actually is, Elliott, and will focus on those two to try and ensure that they can actually compete and can play in this first 11. And it gives them a good opportunity now with the injuries that are in place to see if they are up to the task, and are they going to be a fringe player for Liverpool always, and will always be a bench player and will come on for a few minutes, or do we sell and get rid because they're not good enough? And it gives them a good insight into their mentality as a player, and also how good they are as well to come into this side. It gives them a perfect opportunity to see that. Whether they're good enough, I think they can be, but it's a big season for the pair of them, even more so now if we don't bring a midfielder in. Now, the weakness was already highlighted at the start of the window, and we've kind of tentatively kept away from it. And it's getting to now to the end of the window, and we're still umming and ahhing as to if we are going to go in. Are we going to buy someone? Is it going to affect the budget? So therefore, then Klopp will then use his stubbornness as he always does and thinks, right, well, we'll lose Thiago for a bit. I can bring in Curtis and play on that in that side, or I can play Ellis. Ellis started the season quite well, I think, in that midfield, and has shown glimpses of what he can do. And he looks as though he's took it by the bull by the horns, and looks as though he can come in and do a job for us. The questions need to be asked about Jones, because the jury's out with him at the minute, and it's down to those two. You've also got to look at Keita. Everyone, you lose Keita. I was looking at this week. You lose on average 15.5 games of him a season. That's how many games you lose. You lose 12 weeks of him on average over the course of a season, and you lose 27% of him in a season in which we're averaging 53 games. It's not good enough. I've always supported Keita, but he's not the one, and him question whether he should be playing or more, and question why he doesn't get game time. Look at an injury record, lad. Give your head a wobble. You're not good enough, and when you are good enough, when you do come in, you're still a quaver, and you still break down halfway through a game as well. Do you know what I mean? So, at some point, we've got potential in our team, in our squad. Is this the right time to be questioned? They're how good they are and if they are capable. For me, I'd say yes. Klopp will probably say yes, but I'd also want a cushion at this moment while the window and opportunities there to bring someone in as well.